Did you know that changing a closing date, even by just a few days, could cost your buyer hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars? Most agents don't realize that, and then they find out when it's too late. Look, I'm Tara Ryan, and today's tip from Tara is about basically don't extend a closing date without talking to your lender first. Here's why this matters. When we lock an interest rate, it's for a specific amount of time, typically 30, 45, maybe 60 days. Why is that? Well, we spend money as a company to hedge that lock in the secondary market. So we buy an instrument that moves in the opposite way of interest rates so that the lender doesn't make any more or any less should rates change. So that's why we need to know a specific amount of time that we're hedging for. So then when you come along and you have a legitimate reason to say, hey, we really need a closing date change, sometimes that happens without the lender even being consulted, and that is where problems can arise. If the new closing date pushes us past that lock expiration date, that's going to require an extension, and lock extensions come with a fee. One very important misconception I want to clear up today is that this fee applies even if interest rates have gotten better from when they locked. Okay, why would that be? Well, lock extension fees are not simply based on whether rates have gotten worse or not. They're tied to that hedge, that money that's already been spent to hold that lock no matter what happens in the market. So therefore, rates getting better doesn't help the lender. We're still stuck with that lock. Let me give you an example of what it might cost. On a 5-day lock extension, that typically would cost with us 10 basis points, which is 0.1% of the loan amount. So on a $500,000 loan, that's $500. So you can see where understanding this cost could be a very important factor before you extend a date. If the seller is the one asking to delay the closing, it might be something worth addressing in the amendment or in your negotiation. You might want to have the seller agree to cover the cost of that lock extension since they're the one that's benefiting from the extension of the date. This is also why I am personally very thoughtful about this before we lock in the first place. Some transactions have uncertain timing. For example, new construction. I tell clients all the time, I don't believe the builder on their closing date until the countertops are in. That's usually about the time they start knowing and being able to understand when that deal will actually close. Same thing if you have a buyer making a contingent offer. If they haven't sold their home yet, there's a high likelihood that loan may need to be extended or that closing date may need to be extended. So it's better to prevent the issue in the first place by holding off on locking a little bit. So look, the idea of this is just be aware when you're moving a closing date earlier, obviously you want to make sure the lender is ready, or later you need to know about lock expiration dates. Include the lender in that conversation. A quick 2-minute conversation could save your buyer a good bit of money, but also may help you give some leverage in the negotiations and make you look like a hero to your buyer. I'm Tara Ryan, and I would love to assist you with anything along these lines. If you have questions about how this process works or a strategy on how it might help you, please reach out. We're always happy to help.